This statement, as previously announced, is from two-time Super Bowl champion and Tyler Wright, Mr. Aaron Ross. I would like to say it is really unfortunate that in 2017 we still have to question the integrity of the people that we look to for protection. I know that in any organization there will be a few bad apples. And all we ask is that the good batch, which I know is the majority, take a stance against any injustice, prejudice, or racial profiling witnessed. It's really terrifying to me to know that at any time somebody could falsely accuse me of doing something, and it becomes my burden to plead my innocence until the officer feels like I'm telling the truth. We have seen situations like this escalate to the point of no return, either in handcuffs or worse, death. So please, as a proud Tylerite, help us bridge the gap in our great city of Tyler. Thanks. Aaron Ross.
Brother Sanders, would you like to come back at this time?
Thank you, Mr. President. You've done a great job in presenting our position as Tyler NAACP. And I'd like to say, and you kind of hit on it, one of my biggest concerns about this is that we had two senior officers that were training these two rookies that have been out of the academy only 3 weeks. And the senior officers recognized that it was Ricky Williams. And after he recognized, and it was proven by his ID that it was Ricky Williams, he still let the training officers interrogate him as if to say, this is the way we do it in Tyler. We feel like the senior officers should have taken control of that whole ordeal after it was recognized that it was Earl Campbell, because he probably knew that the banquet was going on. If not, he should have had. So there's some serious things going on, and I know in the other meetings that the city had to make themselves look good. But we're part of Tyler too. We want to be one of the ones, or some of the ones, that make this a great city to live in, but we can't do that pulling one side and not getting any help from the other side. And as I mentioned, we have problems here. And until we quit trying to sweep it under the table, under the rug, and address these issues, it's not getting any better. It can only get worse.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open up for any questions that anyone would like to ask, or any comments from those that are here that would like to make a comment at this time.
Yes, Cedric.
Yes.
A week ago, you came down the stairs at City Hall with the other folks in the group, and it sounded like everybody was on the same page. What happened between last week and this week?
Well, actually, that's a good question, because in the meeting for 2 hours, city officials and those that are part of the community, black and white, what was strange in that room was the blacks spent 2 hours convincing or trying to convince those that were white why we were offended. Everyone in that room that was black was offended by what took place on this video. And on the other side, all of those that were white were trying to understand why those that were black were offended. And so basically, as Mr. Sanders was saying, the city has an incumbent job on making sure that there is damage control and that they do things in the interest of the city. And one thing about the NAACP, we're one of the biggest supporters of the city and the police force. But when we're wrong, we are wrong. And we have to be willing to admit when we're wrong. Now, behind closed doors, the admittance of the Tyler Police Department and the chief that there were some things that happened that should not have happened. In response to the derogatory remark about North Tyler specifically, that should not have been made. And the question is, what are we going to do about that? When we recognize the problems, it's one thing to recognize the problem, but it's another thing to do something about the issue that we are here to address. And when we came down from that meeting and the media was there, the statement that was made on behalf of that meeting that took place, it is our position that we really didn't say much about what happened in that room. We really had no resolution. The thing about what's going on is we've been meeting with the city. We've been meeting with the police and making sure that we forge those relationships. It's not the citizens that have a problem. It is those that are in the police force that choose to abuse authority and not take citizens' interests at heart, depending on what side of town you come from or what the color of your skin is. So between last week and this week, we have met and talked about the strategy of making sure that our position is clear. We were called to the table, but the position that was taken by the city, we did not particularly agree with. And so it is now that we come to make sure that it's clear where the NAACP stands.
Have you spoken with the chief or anyone from the city prior or close to this meeting in the past few hours?
Absolutely. I did put in a call to the chief of police and the mayor, because one thing about it is, again, I forestated that we're one of the biggest supporters of this city and our police force. We are here to help do whatever we can. We don't come when there's trouble or when there's a problem. We are there beforehand. We're proactive as an organization and a community. And so we wanted to make sure we reached out to the mayor and the chief to keep the dialogue open and that there is nothing that's being done underhand. We wanted to be clear with them what our position is and what we were planning to do at this time.
Cedric, how are we able to go forward from this incident to be able to bridge the gap, to be able to make them understand where where the NAACP is coming from? How are we able to bridge that gap for make more understanding?
Well, you know, that's a good question, and one of the most important things through our history is nobody can assume how you feel. Many times we have to state how we feel. We have to make sure that it's clear. And I think many times we walk away from the table and sometimes we go along to get along to make sure that we don't cause any problems or cause any trouble. But America was founded on the revolution. It took those that were willing not to lay down to stand up for our rights. And at this point, that is the only reason why we enjoy our constitutional rights. And so that is the position that we take as the NAACP, because we haven't been here since 1909 by just taking a back seat. We've been on the forefront fighting for the rights of those in our communities across this country. So it's important for us to make sure we're clear and come to the table and debate the issues and make sure we articulate our points. It's not always comfortable. It's not always a position that many want to take. It's the road less traveled, and that's the road that we choose to take. And that's part, and the biggest part of the process here in America, that we have to have conversations that are very uncomfortable. And so at this point, we're going to continue. We're not going to negate or abandon the position that we hold as the NAACP.